Hello and welcome back to the channel for another College TF review. I hope you all have enjoyed the holidays and are getting ready for the new year. Over here on the College TF Reviewer channel, that means a new year means a time for a new collection. And so in 2023, I'm going to also be collecting and reviewing Star Wars The Vintage Collection figures. I was over at my local toy store, that being All Time Toy Store. Be sure to check them out online. And they have figures like the Vintage Collection Black Series, and of course, Transformers, both Studio Series and Mainline, along with tons of other awesome toys and collectibles. So definitely be sure to check them out, and I have a link in the description for this guy below. So definitely check that out. But while I was over there, I was noticing the extreme level of detail on these vintage collection figures. And as a huge Star Wars fan and buff myself, I just had to pick them up. They're super tiny, that being the 3 3/4 inch scale. So going along with the original Kenner figures, these are kind of like the evolution, using articulation everywhere and superior paint apps to like the evolution of the original Star Wars figures. So I definitely had to start getting into collecting these as well. And there's also spaceships and stuff available, so I'll be sure to review whatever I pick up over on the channel. So let's get straight into this review. I absolutely love this figure. I love the Mandalorian show. I think the way they cast his character is awesome. It's like this Midwestern, cowboy sci-fi. It's just awesome. It combines everything that I really like. And I think all around it's a pretty well-regarded show. I think everyone likes it, and I think you don't have to be a Star Wars fan to like that show. I think it's fantastic. Definitely one of the best Star Wars, I think, things produced, at least in the recent times since the original trilogy. And so this figure, again, he's about 3 3/4 inches tall. So that original scaling, just for some background, 3 3/4 inches goes to about 1:18 scale. And the way they came up with that is, so they wanted Luke to be roughly 3 3/4 inches. So based on that, Luke being, I think, of what, 5'9" or so, going around that basis, that's how they came up with the 1:18 scale. So this guy might not be exactly 3 3/4 inches, but he's in that scale. So that's just a little bit of background there. And so let's get straight into this figure now. So he is just crazy detailed. I mean, the paint apps on this guy are insane. And not to mention that the vintage collection figures are usually between like $11 and $15, sometimes a little bit more if they're like a deluxe pack. But this guy being about $13 is insane in my opinion. The level of detail and paint that they got on this figure is just absolutely incredible, especially comparing to something like a core class Transformer. It's about the same price. You might get a few more joints, but you get much less paint. This guy's just fully covered in paint. So very nice helmet there, definitely reminiscent of what we see in the cartoon. Sorry, not the cartoon, the show. And this nice kind of rubbery, pliable plastic there for his strap going across the front with some bullets in there. You can see he's already used a few. I definitely will take a look at the accessories in a minute. So the gun off to the side. Just take a look. There is the Mudhorn crest. Very nice. He's got his flamethrower, his arm. This guy is incredibly tiny and amazingly detailed. I mean, even that hand. We'll get into articulation too. This guy does not lack in articulation. And on the other side, he's got a slight asymmetric design. Again, nice silver paint all throughout. He's got his those whispering arrows. Nice Beskar chest plate. Tons of nice detail there on the skirt and all that different paint color. So he's got kind of this flexible plastic throughout to help with articulation, which you get into. Again, nice paint on all the armor there. Some more ammo and stuff. Maybe a spot for a knife. And yeah, he kind of has like this overall weathered effect too, which is awesome. So very, very nice. And I mean, yeah, gotta look at the back of the figures on these guys too, because they're not hollowed. Completely filled out. Very, very nice. So in terms of accessories, he does come with this jetpack, which is very nice. Just has a peg that's kind of offset here. And then in his back, we do get a slot right there, which, it doesn't look the greatest when there's nothing on it, but the cape does cover it up nicely. And you can, I think, remove this cape if you just pop his head off, but I like his cape, so I'll keep it on there. And you can just tab jetpack in. It's pretty secure. And again, if you lift the cape up, you get more nice detail underneath there. And the cape is like a rubbery plastic as well. And then he also does, of course, get his long rifle, which has been sculpted and painted all the way throughout. Look at all that paint. Looks really, really nice. Very nicely decked out. And it does have a little tab here, and that tab is so you can, in fact, store his rifle on his back here in that little slot on his crossbody strap. And there you go, that's the look he sports in the cover. So that is just fantastic. And he does actually have one more accessory, and I just love this about the vintage collection figures. I mean, it's also true in the Black Series, but those being 6-inch figures, you know, you come to expect a very high level of detail, but with these tiny figures, I would not expect to have his gun be in a holster. Like, this thing's just so tiny, I can barely get it out, but that's insane. This little holster, it's again like a rubbery-ish plastic for his blaster. There it is. It's brown plastic, brown paint, and silver paint. Again, fully painted. And so for weapons integration, so this hand does kind of have that trigger finger, you see? And it is all pliable plastic, so it is pretty easy to kind of just wedge his blaster in there, and then you can poke his finger in to that hole and have Mando wielding his blaster. And then you can do the same thing with this rifle and peg it into the hand same way, or you can use this hand, which is more just a cup hand, which doesn't have the trigger finger, but you know, if he's just using his gun as like a staff or electro staff, which he does a few times, you can have him doing that. So that is figures, accessories. Definitely looks really great with all those weapons. Exactly what we see in the show. Now let's get into articulation. So this guy, I mean, is what you would expect from these vintage collection figures. He's essentially a Black Series figure just scaled down. He has all the same range of articulation. So you get a ball joint on the head, can look all the way around, swivel all the way around, more motion than you would possibly need in a human. Then he does, this cape can move however you want to because of how it's attached and it's rubbery plastic. But then the shoulders, we do get about out to there. I mean, not great range. Let's see, can we go a little further out on the other side? Not exactly. So at the shoulders, you know, you can't really get them moving up straight this way, but you can swivel it around to get more range there. It's on a swivel and also like a hinge that goes out. And then we do have like an elbow swivel here, kind of, just at the upper elbow. And then you can get past 90 degrees of motion there. Very nice. And then we do also get a wrist swivel. And there is a tiny little hinge joint here in the wrist. It is pretty hard to manipulate, but it does kind of angle down a little bit so you can get him, you know, if you want to wield his rifle in a bit more of a natural position, you can. Try to sneak this in there, show you. So now you can kind of hold it in more of like a natural pointed forward position like that. And then on the other hand, you know, the other arm, same amount of articulation everywhere, and then his wrist, I think actually, yeah, also does have a little swivel in there. Again, same thing, you kind of angle it down for his bigger weapons. Then at the torso, we do get like this side-to-side rocker and a bit of an ab crunch, not actually that much, but I mean, decent amount. Sorry, there we go. Decent amount of ab crunch there, and again, the side-to-side. And then we do get like this upper torso swivel, and it's pretty awesome. I just love how this strap kind of, you know, it's rubbery so it can move just like it would on the actual actor, you know, with his actual set pieces. Then he can kick forward. The joints are a bit stiff on this guy because I just picked him up. So you kick forward, and he can kick back, and then we can kick out. Can do the splits. I would say these upper joints are exceptionally stiff. They are a bit hard to manipulate also with these skirt pieces. But I don't know how dramatic of a pose you need them in. You can at least get them, you know, pretty far out. And then we can do a swivel here with the upper leg. And then I like how they integrated this knee. It's nice and seamless in there. So it's like completely hidden. You can't even tell there's a joint there, which is pretty awesome. And then the joint, the feet do pivot forward and backward, and there is a bit of an ankle tilt in there, and they do swivel. So articulation-wise, he's pretty good. I mean, I will say that our modern Transformers are pretty darn amazing in terms of their articulation too. Hasbro's been putting out some great releases. But I mean, for a highly detailed, super tiny little figure, I mean, you know, we're probably comparing this guy in terms of articulation to that of like a core class Transformer. Yeah, he supersedes, I think, everything Hasbro's put out, just about. So definitely, for just a standalone action figure, he's awesome. I think he's everything you could possibly want. His detail is impeccable. And his articulation is, I think, satisfactory for what you are trying to get out of him pose-wise. You can seat him in a spaceship, you can seat him at the bar, those kinds of things. He's definitely good for that. And you can get some, like, just neat, chilling poses out of him, whatever you want. Definitely looks good on the shelf, or I think he's also pretty fun if you want to, play with him, mess around with him. He's pretty durable. So definitely am liking these vintage collection figures. My goal is definitely to pick up as many of the Mandalorian characters as I can. Mainly the ones, of course, that I am preferential to, but I'll definitely, whatever I pick up, I'll review over on the channel. So thanks for watching. As always, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and stay tuned for the next video. Thanks.